Well, now we have with us a masterclass by the expert herself. Please put your hands together in a round of applause and let's welcome Pallavi Sankhe, co-founder POSH-Safe Workplace. A round of applause for Pallavi.
Hello everyone. Am I audible to everyone? Back there? Yeah, I don't want anyone to miss out on any of the biases that we all harbor. Okay. Let me see if this works. Okay. Okay. So we are already late, so we will sort of have to hurry our way through this session. But still, I would like this to be a very interactive session. Yeah? So, are you all ready for this deep dive? Udi mare? Swim kare? Karte hain? So, see, I think whole day we have heard this word unconscious bias, unconscious bias, unconscious bias. मैं तो कह रही हूँ हम unconscious नहीं हो गए सुनते सुनते बड़ी बात हो गई हाँ because why is it this word is popping up so often? Because it is the absolute base of DEIB. Yeah, that is where the problem starts, and that is where we need to know we cannot completely get rid of our biases, but this is where we have to rein in our biases. As you know, this class is about counterbalancing our unconscious bias. So what are we going to see in this class? First, of course, we need to know what the beast is, right? So we will know what is unconscious bias. We will quickly check what are different types of biases. And then what is the impact of this bias on our work life? Of course, it also has an impact on our other part of our life also, our home life. But here we'll relegate it to work life. And then later on, what we'll do is we'll see how we can reduce this bias. I'm not talking about removing the bias. अभी तक किसी माई के लाल को अभी तक वो हुआ नहीं है possible. और हम भी वो फीट करने नहीं वाले हैं. It is little difficult. और ये 1 घंटे में तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं होगा. And then there will be some simple questions, some simple case scenarios for checking the understanding. Yeah. So this is going to be our agenda for this next 1 hour. So quickly let us do this, a very short activity. You all have paper and pen? Yeah, please keep them ready. We'll be needing it. Number of times, in fact, today. Yeah. Yeah. All set? Yeah. So I'll be saying a word. Yeah. And you have to quickly write down whatever that comes to your mind. 2 words, yeah, 1 or 2 words. For example, if I say Taj Mahal, what comes to my mind very quickly? Absolutely. So to my mind, Agra comes, Shah Jahan also comes. Maybe in your mind, Love may come or Mumtaz Mahal may come. Everybody's mind is different. So have you all understood what we are supposed to do? Yeah. So the next word is beautiful. Quickly. And then the next word is doll. Gudiya. Marathi madhe bahuli. Yeah. Third word is Mumbai. Amchi Mumbai. Idli. As in, I will not say the next word. Idli. And the next word is Bihar. Bihar. B-I-H-A-R, the state. Apna state, Bihar. Okay, now let's see what you have written, and let me guess what you could have written, okay? So, for beautiful, there's a very good chance that you have written fair maybe, lovely maybe, attractive. Nahi? Kya baat hai? Huh? Flower, awesome. Then what else? Everything. Yeah, then? Mom. My God. Oh, great. What else? Mountain. See, we live in Mumbai. I understand. The outside world beckons. Okay, great. What about doll? What have you written? Plastic. What? Barbie. Barbie. Yes. Pretty. Play. Good one. Annabeth, yes. What about Mumbai? What have you written? Traffic. Local train. Vada pav. Vada pav. Sea. Sea. Huh? City of Dreams. Bollywood? Anybody? क्या सच में? Okay, you have beaten the unconscious bias. I'm dealing here with the experts. What about idli? Idli vada नहीं लिखा, dosa नहीं लिखा. क्या बात है, idli chutney, very prosaic. Idli chutney, idli sambar. Okay, great. South? Did anyone mention South? Okay, किसी ने तो लिखा, चलो. Okay, I'm still in the game. Okay. What about Bihar? क्या क्या? Okay, what else? Okay, did the thought that it every year after year it produces the most number of IAS officers, did it occur to you? How many people? Now be honest. Yeah? Okay. Because science says that if you have a brain, you have a bias. Yeah? So here we are on to unconscious bias. Do you know every second, as in every second, 11 million pieces of information hit your brain. And your brain is able to process only 40 of them consciously. What would be those 40 thoughts? ये क्लास छोड़ के जाना है कि नहीं बाहर? चाय important है कि नहीं? चाय पी ही लेनी चाहिए, अभी नींद आ रही है. Such important things, that those 40 thoughts will be such important things. Then what is, so your brain basically has two sides. So there's this conscious brain and the unconscious brain. So this conscious brain has very less processing capacity. Chota sa hai, it's like a small microchip. And it can do only such important things what I mentioned now. But what about the unconscious brain then? The unconscious brain, which basically rules most of your life, it has a large processing capacity. It's super fast. And, I mean, how is it that it is so fast? AI has not been able to replace us. There has to be some reason. The reason is that this unconscious brain has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. And one of that trick is to recognize patterns. It has these mental shortcuts. So when you see a stall and when you see a lot of rush, this vada pav, यहाँ का vada pav बहुत अच्छा होगा, इसलिए यहाँ पे line है, fit हो गया, and then it will retrieve it when need be. In the morning, what breakfast to eat, especially for ladies, what breakfast to make, आज कपड़े क्या पहनने हैं. So our unconscious brain helps us there. So unconscious brain automates 99% of the decisions, and that is, so it's a boon and it's a bane. Definitely it's a boon, right? Otherwise, imagine 11 million pieces of information hitting you every minute, every second. How do you cope with it? So it is a boon, but it has its problems too. So I talked about these patterns. So these patterns are basically shortcuts, and these shortcuts are called as heuristics. Very big word. ज़रूरत नहीं है इतना याद रखने के लिए, कोई बात नहीं है. So this heuristics is what causes unconscious bias. Yeah? Because we are so used to associating some things with something. We'll reach there. So these heuristics is what leads to unconscious bias. And what is unconscious bias? And we've been listening here, unconscious bias. ये bias क्या है? So this bias leads to rapid categorization of people. You see a person and tuck, immediately you make some snap judgment about that person. I don't know that person. still I have made up my mind about that person. Okay, so that is unconscious bias. And in fact, there are 180 different types of cognitive biases, 180. But we are going to look at, we don't have time for 180 or फिर तो सर तो घूम जाएगा. So we'll be looking at only 6 or 7 very important ones which are important in India as of now. Yeah. In fact, these unconscious bias, where does it come from? It is like millions of years, it has been with us for millions of years, right from where we were cave people. So at that time, how was it? You either get eaten or you eat. Yeah? So anything that is unfamiliar is dangerous. And even now after so many years, our mind is still there. And here we are thinking we are going to harness AI, but we are still in the old jamana. So it is us versus them. This is what triggers that unconscious bias. I hope I'm clear here. Yeah? Okay. Now, some statements will come on the screen. Yeah? They are all visible, right, to everyone? Yeah, maybe I should be in the center. And I wanted to read them quickly and see whether they resonate with you. Like tall men are promoted more often than short men. Yes. See, the quick yes. So, because 90% Fortune 500 CEO are more than 6 feet tall. Do you think they have more brains or what? No. Yeah? It's in here, the bias. Slim women make more money. Now don't look at me. I don't make more money. So for every 10% increase in body mass, it seems the woman's income dropped by an average 6%. Isn't this scandalous? What does it have to do with the brain? Huh? And fair is still lovely. Yeah? I will not give any statistics here, not needed here. Pregnancy and childcare continue to be the most common prejudices against women in workplaces. I've talked with so many women since morning and some men too, and we have all agreed we have had difficult time bringing up our children. Yeah? So about 48% drop out within 4 months of returning from maternity leave. 50% drop out mid-career before the age of 30 for childcare. Okay, there are more biases. Men in general are paid more than women. I think when we talk about gender bias, yeah, we talk about pay parity. So this is where it is, and it is not just in India. It is worldwide. Yeah? We are only a little way behind. So the wage gap between genders in India, unfortunately, is amongst the widest in the world. Organizations that have tenured and older employees, there's a bias against younger people and vice versa. We've been talking about intergenerational diversity. Here, because we have Anandita from HCLTech. My husband is also from software, and he's been cribbing for a number of years about the age bias that he faces. He is just about on the right side of the 50. मतलब अभी होने ही वाला है 50 साल के. Yeah. And I did some research because I thought he's exaggerating maybe. And I did some research, and what was found that the average age of software companies in India is between 20 to 35. Yeah? So there was this time when we were young, we used to think these old people have it so well. Yeah? They get all the good deals and all, and now the tables have turned. Differently abled people have even more problems. And right now, I think we had a session now. Instead of differently abled, I would like to say people with disabilities. I think that's the right word. Yeah? So at all India level, only 36% of total disabled persons were workers. So only these many people find work despite so many years of DEIB. Isn't that a food for thought? And why? Half the transgender population never attended school. You see them begging on the road. There are so many superstitions about them, so many roadblocks. In fact, so many of our clients, for them the buck stops there. It is like हाँ disability वाले लोग लेके आ जाओ, बाकी सब भी ठीक है, transgenders नहीं चाहिए. It is like that. They are very open about it. It will take a long time for that mindset to change, to improve. So why are all these things happening? It is happening because of our unconscious biases. So let's look at the types of biases. I'll just keep this here. I had no idea this was here, so I had my notes. Just a second. Please. Yeah. Better now. So I said that we are going to look at few biases. We'll basically look at 7 biases. So you have this affinity bias, perception bias, gender bias, beauty bias, there's halo effect, and there's horns effect. जगह नहीं थी slide में, मैंने लिखा नहीं. And there's groupthink bias. Yeah. Again, take out your paper and pen. Another small activity, quick activity. I want you to write down names of 5 people whom you trust the most, and they should not be your family members. So 5 of your most trusted people closest to you, yeah, but not your family members. Like here I have written 5 names. Yeah. Now an attribute will appear on the screen. For example, there's this gender. You see this gender? Yeah. And if that person, the names that you have written, if they match with your gender, you have to tick. For example, like Razia is my gender, so I have ticked the box, right? The next attribute is native language, mother tongue. So again, with Razia, we are both Maharashtrians, yeah? So we speak Marathi, that's my native tongue, so I have ticked. Yeah. Religion. Again, Razia and I don't belong to same religion, so I have crossed. The next attribute is, did you attend the same school or college? All 5 people are not just one person. For all 5 people, you have to do this activity. It's called as the circle of trust activity. So yeah, we did, so tick. And profession, do you share the same professional background? Are you from the same profession? So no, Razia is a doctor, I'm not. Yeah. So if you see, can you share your thoughts with me? Like how many of you have lot of ticks and very less crosses? Okay. What about rest? Everything else is a cross? Very diverse? Huh? Balanced? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. But most of the times it would be lots and lots of ticks. Yeah? Because you all are already experts in DEI. Wrong audience. I know. डालना होगा ये तो भी आप टिक डाल देंगे क्रॉस या you know आपने मुझे पकड़ लिया है. So essentially we have this affinity bias. We tend to lean towards people we know, They may be from the same background, same school, same caste, same religion, same mother tongue, yeah. We might have same hobbies, yeah. And we gravitate towards them. It just happens automatically. It is not as if we have designed it or we have said, I'll do this. This is my agenda in the morning. I'll find one person who's similar to me and I'll get close to that person. It just happens automatically. So how does this affect an organization? See, when you have hiring done, it has been found that affinity bias plays a very important role in hiring. In fact, I call affinity bias as groupism. So there is this in-group and there is this out-group. Yeah? So people whom you think that by gut feel you feel they are the right culture fit, because you feel that you associate with them, you sort of relate to them, you resonate with them. There's an affinity between, they are your in-group. And because they are your in-group, normally in an organization, these are the people who will be going, they'll basically be going up the ladder much faster, yeah, than people who are in the out-group, who may not belong to that particular group. I'm sure you will all agree that almost all organizations there is groupism. So many times, you come home and you crib about the groupism which happens. The toxicity in the office because of these groups getting formed based on these affinity biases. Yeah? So that was the affinity bias. Let's now move on to another bias. This bias is a very, it is a worldwide bias, but in India we have a different flavor because you see we are now the country with the largest population. We have managed to outsmart China. Yeah? We are now 1.42 billion. हमने उनको हरा दिया. And do you know we have 708 languages, 22 official languages. We have, and how many types of food do we have? Culture, कपड़े देख लो ना, आप साड़ी देख लो. Bengali people drape it in a different way. Maharashtrians drape it in a different way. Tamilians and Maharashtrians both have 9-yard sari, 9-wari sari, and they drape it in a totally different way. Gujarati people wear sari in a different way. Even in sari, we have no agreement. Yeah, we are like, मैं तो अलग ही करके रहूँगा भाई. तो बचपन से हम क्या सुनते आ रहे हैं? Unity and diversity, right? So yeah, we are incredibly diverse. But then what happens, because we are incredibly diverse, we also have same number of stereotypes. Yeah? So have you all watched Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge? So what comes to your mind when you think of Punjab? You have सरसों के खेत, सुंदर औरतें लहलाते हुए खेत में दौड़ रही है, भाग रही है, लस्सी पी रही है, तंदूरी चिकन खा रही है शायद. Did you know most of the Punjabis are actually vegetarians? I had no idea, but that is so. So how do we get these ideas? Bhai, Yash Chopra ji, we watch these films, right? I have never visited Punjab till now. Let me be very honest, disclaimer. I have not visited Punjab even once. But I have my thoughts about Punjabis. All thanks to, so you have movies, you have serials, you have OTT now. In fact, from the time we are born, we are bombarded. See, we are born with clean slate. We know zero. हमको अमका ढमका कुछ मालूम नहीं होता है. So what happens first? First, it's our family, because we are observing everything, listening every what they're saying. Then what? Then it's a school. So some biases get formed at that time, some perceptions. After that, you grow up, go to college, you start working. So the community in which you are there, the state where you are brought up. So all of these play a huge role in our perceptions. So we make judgments about people based on this ये जो अपने पास ज्ञान जो मिलता है ना ये सब लोगों से, this क्या बोलते हैं, general knowledge that we have, we make these wild assumptions about people, very simplistic assumptions. We think we know everything. So these biases, these umbrella biases are called as perception biases. उसमें बहुत सारा bias आता है. अभी मैं एक नाम लेती हूँ, you will understand कितना क्या क्या आता है. So you have religion bias. We have so many of them in our country. You have gender bias, and not just gender bias, you have beauty bias. You have this Gora, Kala bias. We are 80% of us are brown, but every one of us wants to be fair. वो हो नहीं सकता पता है, और क्यों होना है वो भी मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है, लेकिन भाई हमें होना है. And as a result, we have so many fairness creams, right? Then we have LGBTQIA spectrum. Yeah. You have bias based on states, so state bias भी है. You have height bias. You have weight bias. Yeah. You have disability bias. And disability bias, you can see it, it's blatant in front of you. I was giving an example to, to someone here, that I live in Vashi, And we have superb infrastructure by and large compared to Mumbai. And we have these pavements which get repaved almost every 2 years, chaka-chak. But there is no, that small ramp which is required. Kitna lagega cement uske liye? It is never there. Why? Such an easy thing to do. So we carry our biases. We don't think basically कि उनको ज़रूरत है. वो तो घर से बाहर निकलने ही नहीं चाहिए, घर पे बैठे रहो. Age bias. So again we come to age bias. That is also rampant nowadays. And since there is no picture, अभी मैं caste bias कैसे दिखाऊं picture से? हाँ? लेकिन जाति नहीं है, वो जात है. It is there everywhere, right from school. And I think we have the dubious distinction of being people who discriminate amongst ourselves. बाकी लोग तो ठीक है. See, when we immigrate to other countries and they have a bias against it, I can understand. But why are we discriminating our own people? On what basis? So no picture for it. But caste bias is something that doesn't get spoken about. It is the elephant in the room, but it is there. So please kindly acknowledge it. So perception bias. कितने सारे biases हो गए? बहुत सारे bias हो गए ना? खटाखट. 6 bias बोले थे लेकिन इतने नाम हो गए. And then I have not mentioned the accent bias. Does it exist or not? Yeah, we immediately look down upon people with mother tongue influence. What we don't realize is that that person knows one extra language that you don't know. And in fact, there's a lot of premium in India over that, the accent has to be crisp. The person otherwise doesn't sound sophisticated. भाई crisp English नहीं बोल पाते. इनको तो कुछ आता ही नहीं है. And this thing you don't see abroad. People whose native language is English, they are very considerate towards people whom they think that, okay, it is a ESL, English as second language. They are very considerate towards you. And English is not our first language, but we immediately put down people on the basis of accents. Yeah? So perception biases. Okay, now we are done with 2 biases. Yeah? We have seen affinity bias, we have seen perception bias, and now I would like you to read this quickly. और मुझे इसका आंसर चाहिए. जिसको आंसर पता है ना, प्लीज बताना नहीं. Because see, there was a reel made on this by BBC and it went quite viral. Yeah. So a father and son were involved in a car accident in which the father was killed and the son was seriously injured. The father was pronounced dead at the scene of the accident and his body was taken to a local morgue. The son was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital and was immediately wheeled into an emergency operating room. A surgeon was called. Upon arrival and seeing the patient, the attending surgeon exclaimed, "Oh my God, it's my son." So can you explain this? अरे क्यों बोला? रुको ना. So many different answers would have come. Yeah. So उन्हें भांडा फोड़ दिया. Yeah. So yes, it was the mom. But then, where does this come from? Did you know in India itself there are 32,000 surgeons, according to ASI, the Association of Surgeons of Indians. And out of them, there are only 4,000 women surgeons and most of them are into obstetrics, yeah, gynecology. So, and this in India, despite the fact that we have more women in STEM fields than most of the world. We have fairly large, our representation among scientists and science field is fairly good. So we come to gender bias. So gender bias, in India, do you know how many genders are recognized genders? 3, yeah? So here you have male, female and the third gender, right? So here this gender bias also looks into biases related to LGBTQIA spectrum. So it has been found that there is a tendency to favor one gender over another, and that is a gender bias. Basically, gender biases are also perception biases. But it is just that, if you observe throughout the day, there are a lot of women here, right? See, we have to understand that 50% of the people are women, 50%. So when you talk about LGBTQIA, of course, some women are into that spectrum, right? Disability, same thing. Just as half of the men have these things, Half of the women also have, and automatically when you talk about gender bias, the most talked about factor becomes about women. Yeah, we talk about pay parity, we talk about proper representation of women. Many times in India, especially LGBTQIA might not be represented that much. But then women का तो participation ठीक ठाक हो पहले, yeah? उसी को होते होते इतना time लग रहा है. So that is the gender bias. We'll now move on to beauty bias. So fair is still lovely, right? See, the fact is, earlier when I was young, it was not very good to be thin. You know? Patla hona was not good. At that time, you should have been thoda sa bhara hua hona chahiye. That was the beauty norm when I was younger. I'm now almost touching 50. So when I was in my 20s, it was to be read thin was absolutely unfashionable. So these biases, these beauty standards change probably every decade is what I think. Every decade there are different beauty standards, and now the beauty standard is you to be thin. Yeah? I'm still not there. अभी मैं एकदम ऐसी नहीं हूँ. So I have missed the bus again. Yeah? So wherever in India specifically, when it comes to hiring, beauty bias, it is there, you know. Beauty bias is important, and in fact, it has what has been observed is earlier women used to face this bias exorbitantly more, but now it is also the men. So if you see the advertisements now, there are plenty of fairness creams for men. उनको भी बहुत कुछ लगाना पड़ता है अभी चमकने के लिए. I don't know from where it comes from. Probably it is a popularity of BTS. Yeah. So metrosexual men now have higher standards of beauty. Good for them, I say. Good for us also, I say. Yeah. Finally, they understand what it means to be a woman. So this beauty bias, it fosters the horns effect also and the halo effect also. So it is important from that point of view. Okay. So there's in fact a book by Daniel Hammermish which says beauty pays, why attractive people are more successful. So why do you think this bias exists? If you remember that ad of Fair and Lovely, now Glow and Lovely, they used to run this campaign. I think for at least 20, 30 years they have run a similar campaign which showed that woman became fair, immediately she got a better job, she became more successful, she found love. Exactly, that is why the beauty bias is there inside. We feel that beautiful people are more social, they are more successful, they are more rich. That is what we feel. Need not be so, but that's what we feel. The media tells us so. Yeah? In fact, even when we are children, you remember there's this serial, Chota Bheem. तो उसमें कैरेक्टर है कालिया, बेचारा वो मोटा भी है और काला भी है, डबल धमाका. And he is shown as a villain. So it is so blatant and in your face, right? They don't even want to be even a little bit circumspect about it. They want it to be in your face. छोटे बच्चे हो, तुमको समझना चाहिए ये ऐसा होता है करके. तो तभी से वो दिमाग में घुसता है. In fact, what I have observed in Mumbai schools is that at very young age, children start discriminating on the basis of color. ये बहुत जल्दी होता है, बहुत पहले से होता है, and the kids start losing the confidence very early on. And this coming from a country which has 80% brown people. Why? Yeah. So this is beauty bias. And let's move on to halo effect. What is a halo? Now you have that halo, yeah, angel. So halo effect is a kind of effect basically जब हम छोटे थे, जब हम इंटरव्यू के लिए जाते थे, तो हमारे पेरेंट्स क्या बोलते थे, बेटा अच्छे से कपड़े पहन के जाना, because first impression is the last impression, correct? And that, my dear friends, is absolutely true, because this effect, this particular bias I call first impression bias. आपने first impression में ही झंडा गाड़ दिया, उसके बाद चिंता करने की कोई ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. हो गया, you are set in life. So what happens in halo effect is, I'll give you an example. Consider this case of Mr. X. Now Mr. X is smart, he's tall, He has impeccable, academic qualifications. He speaks crisp English, no mother tongue influence. So when he enters the interview room, people get very impressed. He gets hired immediately. He is given these plum assignments, which he completes successfully. He's good. And immediately he becomes the golden boy. Now, after some time, he may slip. There's a possibility. He may become a little inefficient. But in the eyes of the senior management, he's still the golden boy. He will forever, perennially remain the golden boy. That is the halo effect. Have you guys watched this film? Guys being wrong. I'm sorry. People. So, have you watched this film Katha? Any of you? Purani picture hai, Sahi Parans pe. Farooq Sheikh and Nasruddin Shah. Has anybody watched? Yeah, some of, please go and watch. A, it is hilarious, yeah, and B, it is a perfect example of halo effect. But it's a great watch. Watch it and please show it to your children also. Achhi picture hai. Dekhne layak ekdam. So, have you all understood what is halo effect? So, beauty bias also causes halo effect. Because you see, first impression is the last impression. आप अच्छे भी दिख रहे हो और इतना अच्छा बोल भी रहे हो, तो आप तो अच्छे ही होंगे. What is the opposite of halo effect? Angel के साथ क्या आता है? Right? Horn, devil, right? So horns effect. So horns effect is the exact opposite of halo effect. So halo effect में Mr. X will always get everything right, though he is making mistakes. And Mr. Y, who's suffering from horns effect, is not so handsome, may not be the best looking guy. Whatever he does, it is never right. That person struggles always. So that is the horns effect. So his impression has not been right, and it will take some time for him to get his impression back. So these are exact opposite, and also it is fostered by beauty bias. Beauty here plays a very important role. Yeah. Okay, now this particular bias is very important from Indian point of view. ये ना अपना special Indian effect है. Okay, India में ये बहुत ज़्यादा है. So what is groupthink bias? Groupthink bias means, I call it Haji bias. Haji, Sarji, Chamchagiri ji, Bas ji, Sahib ji, yeah? It is that bias. It is also called as bandwagon bias, also called as conformity bias. So why do I call it Haji, Sarji bias? The reason being is, see, in India, what are we taught as children? बड़ों से बहस मत करना, वो बड़े हैं, तुम्हें क्या समझ में आता है, तुम उनको क्वेश्चन मत करना. When there are teachers, from very young age, we are very scared to ask teachers questions. Yeah? And there's a possibility that when you were young and you asked questions to your teachers, there's a possibility that you were snubbed. And then how many schools and colleges have this culture of debate? So from very young age, we are molded to be yes people. And when we are in this 9th standard, 10th standard, 11th standard, it is that teenage, when we start discovering ourselves. That is a time when we are very busy with coaching classes. We have no time to think. Do you have time to make up your mind? Do you have any time to form independent opinions in your life? Time hai kya? We are so busy studying, middle class specifically. So in this bias, what happens is that you agree with everything that is being said. So already there's affinity bias, because of which you are surrounded by people who are like you. And whatever your boss is saying, the whole group is saying, हाँ जी, हाँ जी sir जी, सब हाँ ही बोले जा रहे हैं. So what happens if somebody plays the devil's advocate in this scenario? Will that person find acceptance here? Will that person be considered as a culture fit here? Will that person be considered as a value add there? Possibility is less, right? They'll probably think, this guy is causing conflict. This lady is causing conflict. इनके तो दिमाग में पता नहीं क्या कुछ और ही चल रहा होता है, right? So these biases, this bias is, of course, it is there worldwide, but in Asian cultures, it is more keenly felt. That is why I have added it. Yeah. Okay. Now we have looked at these 7 biases. Now let us look at whether how much has been understood. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to crack it anyway. Experts sitting here. So look at this first case scenario. So you have this Deepak who comes from Haryana, speaks English with a marked Haryanvi accent, and despite his strong technical skills, he faces prejudice and ridicule from some colleagues who perceive his accent as a sign of incompetence. Yeah. As a result, Deepak's ideas and contributions are often dismissed or ignored in meetings and discussions. क्या हो सकता है? कौन सा bias है? Perception bias, yes. Accent bias, yeah. Perception bias, yes. Very good. Next one, in a software development company, there's a new intern named Arav. So Arav is intersex, but hasn't openly discussed their gender identity at work. However, some colleagues have noticed Arav's androgynous appearance and occasionally make insensitive comments or exclude them from team activities, creating a hostile work environment. ये क्या है? Gender bias. Yeah. उसके अंदर भी अगर जाएंगे तो bias against LGBTQIA. Correct. Yeah. Okay, third one. So Venkat is hiring for his tech startup. He interviews two candidates, Chris and Rohan. Chris went to the same college as Venkat, while Rohan went to a different college. Despite Rohan having slightly better qualifications, Venkat feels more inclined towards hiring Chris because of their shared alma mater. Amina is a project manager for a software development team. She notices that her colleague Arjun, a smart and attractive man, made a significant contribution to the latest project, earning him great praise from the higher-ups. Due to this, Amina automatically assumes that Arjun will excel in all future projects. Halo effect. पीछे से आवाज नहीं आ रही है. Yes, it is halo effect. Yes. Okay. So we have seen different types of biases. Now let's see, how does it impact the workspace? So it definitely has an impact on DEIB because it is the base of DEIB. It has been found that research and computer simulation has found that, say, suppose you hire 100 people at entry level, and if you hire 50 men and 50 women, equal. Yeah? And to this people, if you just apply 1% bias, just 1%, not more than that, just 1% bias for 10 years, for every 6-month performance evaluation, थोड़ा सा bias डाल दो, just नमक जैसा, 1%, right? What was found? It was found that after 10 years, 65% of the key positions, the key leadership positions were held by men. Women had dropped out. So impact of only 1% bias. So what must be happening if you apply realistic amount of bias? Do you all agree? Is there only 1% bias? Way more, right? So can you tell me, in this nifty 50 companies, there are 50 companies, right? How many women CEOs are there in the nifty 50 companies? Can anyone tell? How many women CEOs in nifty 50 companies? 4 or 5. Okay, 4 or 5. What else? So wild guess karo. Huh? 2, 2, 3. Yes. Huh? 1. Yeah, 1. Okay, 1. What else? None. वो भी हो सकता है. Okay. It is 1. Correct answer. Yes, इनको prize दे दो. Yeah. Applause. Well done. Yeah. Vibha Padarkar. Yes. So she's a CEO of HDFC Standard Life. Only 1. Just few years back, there were 4, 5. Yeah, that was the time of the banking queens. Yeah, but no longer. So we now have only 1. Are we progressing or are we regressing? In fact, if you look at all the listed companies, we have around 2,041 listed companies. How many women CEOs do you think you are there? 2,041. कितने women CEOs होंगे? Only 100 CEOs. That's it. Out of 2,041 companies. So that is the role unconscious bias has been playing on our lives. Yeah. So let us just quickly look at this impact of UB. Yeah? First is, of course, hiring and performance evaluation. You all agree that affinity bias plays a role, gender bias plays a role, your beauty bias plays a role, right? All these biases play a role in hiring. In fact, when a woman gets hired, I'm talking just about women, I'm not even talking about other pillars, I'm just talking about women. So if she is young, specifically if she is young, what are the kind of questions that she gets asked? Are you getting married? When are you getting married? When are you planning to have children? Yeah? And if you have children, who's looking after them? So do these questions get asked to men? Are they also not half part, you know? शादी में तो दो लोग होते हैं ना, एक ही जना थोड़े ना होता है. So this thought process itself, you know, comes from unconscious bias. In fact, State Bank of India, in January 2022, just 2 years back, not very far away, they came out with a circular which said that any woman more than 3 months pregnant in the new candidates will not be considered fit for employment. Okay? And then Delhi Commission of Women took notice, sent them a notice, and they had to retract it back. So this comes from the country's largest bank. Yeah? And it is illegal because there's a law against it. So they are able to do such blatantly illegal things. Where does this come from? Bias. Then you have lowered productivity. So as we have discussed, this affinity bias, what does it cause? It causes a lot of groupism. And I'm pretty sure many a times your colleagues, your spouse, you yourself sometimes, you know, must have felt a brunt of this groupism. Sometimes the atmosphere in the office is very toxic and there's very low morale, yeah, a lot of stress. You don't want to go to work. मुझे ऑफिस ही नहीं जाना है, मुझे ये ऑफिस छोड़ देना है. So when such things happen, what happens is that that particular company loses a good talent, right? It could have been avoided by avoiding affinity bias, but that was not taken care of, and as a result, many of these out-group people are leaving. Yeah? So that is what lower productivity, higher attrition rates, low retention rates, suboptimal decision making. See, we saw about this Haji bias, yeah, the groupthink bias. So what happens in groupthink bias? You agree with everything. So what does that do to decision making? Do you think correct decisions will come out of this process? Yeah. See, what unconscious bias does it, unconscious biases are shortcuts. And we Indians are very known for our jugaad. हमको shortcut बहुत पसंद है, correct? And it reflects in the decision making sometimes. See, when such kind of decision making happens, it might be a quick decision. Many a times you say, ना, मेरा बहुत अच्छे से जमता है उनके साथ. We think alike, and we come out with quick solutions. But that quick solution may not be the correct solution because you have not taken any other, thought into consideration, right? Organizational stagnation. See, unconscious bias is the enemy of innovation, enemy of creativity. You have same kind of people, same thought process going on. No new diverse experiences coming in because of diverse people being there. Yeah? And it directly impacts the bottom line. See, all these things that we are talking about, they all directly impact the bottom line. The fact is, why are people so fussed about DEIB now? It increases profits. It is dhanda and nothing else. Yeah? There's no charity happening here. There is a direct benefit to the organizations. Then there is lack of diversity in senior management. See, we saw what happens. So we saw what happens when that 1% bias has taken place. So here I'll give you an example. There was this South Indian group where the patriarch died. He died and he left a female heir. Now this female heir has a doctorate in nuclear physics. She has worked for 25 years in Fortune 500 companies. And such a person, the board denied entry. They said you cannot enter the board. 90% of the shareholders said they voted against her. But a 23-year-old male heir, yeah, was inducted onto the board. He's an MBA with 0 work experience. He was inducted onto the board. Why does that happen? So if that, and that lady is privileged. Afterwards, of course, she went to NCLT and there was an amicable settlement. But that lady is a lady of privilege. So what happens to people like us? Yeah. So that is also a food for thought. So all these things lead to what? Negative ROI. Arey yaar, thoda time dena padega, I'm sorry. Topic is such, yeah? Yeah. I think another 5 minutes we should be able to wrap it up. Yeah, give me 5 more minutes. Yeah, yeah. Okay, this will skip. So now here, this is the most important part. How will we remove bias? How will we reduce bias? See, are we these super people? Are we these super human beings who can intercept bias moment? Because see, they are unconscious. Ek second mein aata hai. So how do we do this? So let us just do a very quick activity. There will be a small activity. I'm sorry.
We've actually really overshot the time. If we can wrap up in the next 1 minute, and we can take those discussions maybe offline.
1 minute mein to ho hi nahi payega. Keep going, yeah. I'm sorry, 5 more minutes, yeah. I think this activity is very important because see, the session is only about counterbalancing bias. So I think we need to do this, yeah. So what I want you to do is close your eyes, yeah. And when I say inhale, inhale, and when I say exhale, please exhale, yeah. Yeah, please close your eyes. Okay. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. In, out. In, out. In, out. We could go on for some more time, लेकिन अभी अपने पास time नहीं है. The thing is, initially you were holding the breath for only 2 seconds. Then you held the breath for 5 seconds. And then you held the breath for 10 seconds. Actually, we should do this activity till 15 seconds, but never mind. So, is breathing a conscious activity or an unconscious activity? It's unconscious. We don't keep on thinking, na, abhi inhale karungi, abhi exhale karungi. We don't think like that, right? So, just like this, just as you are able to consciously hold the breath. See, yogis can hold the breath for a long time, yeah? So can divers, they can hold the breath for a long time. So, with practice, you will be able to intercept your bias. So, let's just see quickly how. First is you have to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware of your bias. So, there online, there's this test called Harvard Implicit Association Test. How many of you know about this test? Yeah, how many of you know about this test? It is a part of Project Implicit, very important, Harvard Implicit Association Test. So when you go home, I want you to take that test. And it will give you some idea about your bias. Why do I say some idea? Very simply, because it is not customized for Indian biases, right? It is an international association test, yeah? And don't just depend on that. Write down your biases. You now know there are some 6, 7 biases. Please write down those biases. Yeah? And see, why are these biases formed? Because you don't know anything about those people. That is why you have that bias. Very simple. So please be more aware of people. When you say travel, be more mindful. Don't be on your phone all the time. Thoda time do, jara logo ko dekho, jara suno. So when you travel, please sample the local food. Talk in local language, just as you would do abroad. Yeah, when you travel abroad, you do all these things, right? Extend the same courtesy to people from our own country. And secondly, mind your language. Very important. See, recently there was this controversy in that very famous businessman's wedding. It went viral. This very famous South star being called Idli Vada by a very famous Bollywood star. Yeah? Derogatory or not? So is that, ek to Idli Vada to, it doesn't even belong to Andhra Pradesh for that matter. Yeah? They have Pesarattu. So if you want to have these biases, at least have the wrong, correct bias, wo bhi nahi, right? So and then in Mumbai, we have this blanket term for South Indians. Kya? I am married to a Madrasi. After 24 years of marriage, my mother still calls him a Madrasi. Bias, okay? Change nahi hua hai abhi tak. What about North Indians? Another blanket term. Yes, yeah. So I'm not proud about it, but it is a fact. We have, what about people from Northeast? They face even more bias. And during Corona, they were actually called Corona. How bad can it get? Yeah. ये ऐसा हुआ है? Huh? We call them Chinky, we call them Chinese. वो Indian ही नहीं है. So, but they are a race. See, we have Indo-Aryans, we have Dravidians, and we have Mongoloids, right? In US, they are only black versus white. यहाँ पे तो बड़ा खिचड़ी पकी हुई है. So we have to be sure, we have to check our language, we have to check our behavior. Just the other day, my daughter used a word chapri. She uses word chapri. तो मैंने बोला बेटा आप ऐसा word मत use करो. मम्मी सब लोग use करते हैं. छपरी का मतलब क्या है? मम्मी बताओ छपरी का मतलब क्या है? Is it when very dirty गाली like I have told her about some very dirty गाली that she should not use. मम्मी वो गंदा गाली है क्या? मैंने बोला बेटा वो गाली ही नहीं है. तो क्यों? मैंने छपरी means a roofer. सबको सर पे छत चाहिए कि नहीं? छत वाले काम करना बंद कर देंगे. So basically it relates to a profession, but it is so ingrained we don't realize. So that is why be careful about the language.